Welcome back to the Garza Gaming Channel. Today we're going to talk about the 9.10 update to SMITE. Now today we're not going to talk about Maui. I'm going to have a Maui video actually coming out tomorrow. We're going to take a real deep dive into his various different attacks and show you some hands-on arena play from this awesome new god, right? But I tell you what, this 9.10 update came with some controversial buffs to some gods that had no business being buffed. If anything, they probably should have got nerfed. But hey man, without any further ado, let's get into it. So here we go with the 9.10 update. Right now, we're not going to talk about Maui today because I got a Maui video that's going to be coming out tomorrow that's going to give you a very in-depth look at every attack he has and show you some live arena action playing against some bots. So make sure you catch that tomorrow, right? But let's jump into this. First of all, we're going to get a bunch of new skins, right? We're going to get a bunch of Maui skins, and we're going to get a really cool one for Scylla, this Toonie Terror Scylla, right? That one actually looked pretty interesting in yesterday's update stream. But the one that I think, actually the two that I think that got everybody's attention, one was the Ganyu one, which looked very, very interesting. But the one that just blew up our chat was that Chibi Thor, dude. That Chibi Thor looks so awesome, and he looks so teeny tiny in the actual video. I'm definitely going to end up getting this one for sure, because you know I love the Chibis, right? I don't really play Thor, but hey man, if I do, my next Thor video is definitely going to be using this skin right here. But anyway, let's get into the items, right? So the items that they ended up nerfing, let's start with the beads. So for beads, is getting a very, very big buff. Prior to October 18th, when this update goes live, right? You always had to wait until an animation was done in order to do your beads, right? Or if you were in a dash, you had to wait until the dash was finalized before you can use your beads. Well, the way they're doing the mechanics for beads now is you'll be able to actually use your beads anytime that you're alive, right? So that means even in mid dash you can pop your beads. Even if you do an Ares ult and you're like, oh crap, I didn't pick up anybody, you can actually cancel it and do your beads while you're canceling at the same time, right? So when you don't get CC'd as soon as you land. There's the list goes on. You know, when you're channeling with Nox, you have somebody locked in. You know, you can't do pretty much anything while you're channeling. You'll be able to use this beads now. So it opens you up to being able to save yourself in some of the crazy situations where before you had your hands tied. So that's going to be very big for beads, right? Another change that's coming is the way of Warlock Staff. So Warlock Staff is losing the penetration it has until it's fully evolved. So yeah, so that was it 10%, I believe it's 10% penetration it gets. You won't be able to use that 10% penetration until you finally finish off that Warlock Staff. So that's going to kind of suck, dude. But they kind of countered that with an awesome buff, and that's Book of Thoth. So Book of Thoth now, when it gets finally evolved, you get 10 magical penetration. And I believe this is going to be a flat pen, so that should be very interesting. Hey man, and you know, if you're already using Book of Thoth, dude, this is just like an extra bonus boost, right? 10 flat pen is a lot, especially when you have a lot of attack power. So the first guy that pops into mind that's really going to benefit from this is Cuckoo Khan, man. So I'm really interested in testing that out. Now, Kron's Coin, they increased the magic power from this from 80 to 90. I think that this was a smart move, dude. I've always said from day one that this item was just too weak for anybody to really take advantage of it. And I think at 90 magic item power, I think this makes it an actual interesting item to really check out to see if it works for your playstyle. I'm definitely going to test it out in a couple of my builds. Silver Branch Bow. Silver Branch Bow is actually getting a little bit of a nerf, right? So they're going to make it a little bit more expensive to get, and it's going to do 5 less physical power damage, or you're going to get 5 less physical power from this item. So not too much of a nerf. If anything, the aggravation is going to come from having to wait a little bit longer to buy it. I don't think you're really going to feel 5 physical power, to tell you the truth, but who knows? We'll see, right? Devourer's Gauntlet. This item now provides 10 physical penetration when it finally evolves. So they added penetration to this item. I've never really used this item, but the fact that they added physical penetration to it makes it very interesting to me. So I'm definitely going to check this out once it goes live for sure to see if it fits in any of my current builds. Heartseeker. So one of the biggest gripes I had with Heartseeker is the fact that it was always so expensive, right? So by the time it finally got built, you know, the game was pretty much over for our arena. So what they ended up doing is actually decreasing the price of Heartseeker from $2,900 to $2,750, which I think is really, really nice. But in addition to that, they also decreased the physical power requirement to reach the maximum 6% bonus damage from 400, which for a lot of guys was kind of hard to do, to 350. So I think that's going to make this item really, really nice, especially on a god like a Chiron, right? So we're going to see how that's going to work out. In fact, I am going to be using this on my Chiron build, so I'll let you know in a future video how that works out. Now, Heartward Amulet, right? So for this one, they increased the magical protections on the Aurora from 15 to 20, and of course that carries to all the various different glyphs of this, right? So that's really cool. Now, Hide of the Lehman Lion. So they decreased the time it takes to gain stacks from this by 20%, right? So it went from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, which is going to be huge, especially on a guy like a Hercules, I think would really benefit from this item. So that should be very interesting. Now, Bancroft's Claw. They decrease the shield from 1% of your max hit points per hit to 0.75% of your max hit points. So they reduce the shield, or the amount of shield you get, by 25%. So that's a pretty significant nerf on that Bancroft's Claw, right? So Manicore Spike. Man, this thing has seen so many nerfs, right? And the hits just keep on coming, right? But not so bad this time. All they did is made it a little bit more expensive. So now it's going to be about 200 gold more expensive to get, and they're changing up the visual effects of this, supposedly to make it easier to see on the ground and to see that you have this buff on you. They did pretty much the same thing with Fae Blessed Hoops. They also increased this one, but they increased this one by 100 gold, and they did the same thing. They're going to change the visual effects of what it looks like on the ground and what it looks like when you have the buff actually on you. So here we go with the gods, man. And the first one on the list is Camazotz. So for Camazotz, his Screech, they increased the physical power scaling from 70 to 80. So they increased it by 10%. Dude, that is a huge buff for Screech. So that's definitely interesting. But this is probably the most interesting of all the buffs you can see for any of the gods that we talk about today. And that's for Thor, right? So for Thor, for his number one, they just decreased the mana cost on it. That's not the big thing here. But his number two, I believe, his Tectonic Riff, right? This is the one when he does that wall that stuns people, right? Well, up until October 18th, once this update goes live, that ability never did damage. It just stunned enemies, right? And then you had to combo out of it. Well, starting on October 18th, this ability is now going to deal 30, 50, 70, 90, and 100 base damage, in addition to 40% of your physical power scaling on all targets that are actually stunned when you do that wall. So you're going to be, for every god you stun, it's also going to now take additional damage, which is huge, dude. And additionally, before we get to this Anvil of Dawn here, the bonus effects that your ult does, which is that arcing damage, and I believe it's right here, the arc damage is 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. With 50% of your physical power scaling. I believe that they're saying that this now your Tectonic Rift, so your stun, is actually going to be able to get that arc damage on top of the base damage. Dude, that is humongous, man. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of Thor players out there that are cheering in their seats, dude. That is huge, dude. Huge. So don't be surprised if you see a lot more Thors in Arena for sure. Ganesha. For Ganesha, his own, they decreased the self-slow while firing this ability from 20% to 15%. Dude, they reduced it by a quarter. That is huge, dude. That is huge. 25% more movement speed in this is gigantic, right? So yeah, so, 5% movement doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it is a lot in the big scheme of things, right? And then removable obstacles, pretty much his charge where he beats somebody down and then throws them up, right? They decreased the cooldown on this one from 15 seconds to 14, 13 and a half, 13, 12.5, and 12 seconds. So they took 2 seconds late game. Adding this in additional to some cooldown reductions is going to be huge for this god, because I like using this ability not just for, you know, initiating and holding somebody down, but it also works very well as an escape. So having a 12-second base with no cooldown reduction escape late game is going to be huge for this god, right? So Athena, so her confound, they decreased the cooldown from 18 seconds to 18, 7.5, 17, 16.5, and 16. So late game, they took 2 seconds off confound. Defender of Olympus. So pretty much her ult. Athena now can gain, Athena now gains 35% damage mitigation while channeling this ability. Increase the damage, and they also increase the damage mitigation on the targeted ally from 30% to 35%. Dude, that is huge. For a simple fact that for some reason, if you get caught in a bad way and you know you're going to take some serious damage, you can actually use your ult as a kind of makeshift escape, because whether you target an enemy or not, once you use this ult, you get that 35 damage mitigation, whether you clicked on an enemy or not, right? Or you canceled it early. You're going to, from what I understand, you're going to get that 35% mitigation, which can probably help you to get out of some really sticky situations. So that's going to be very interesting for Athena. Okay, so Hercules, like Hercules needed any more buffs, dude. I mean, I'm telling you right now, this update came with the craziest, as you're going to see as we get further on in this list, the craziest freaking buffs that just blew my mind. Guys that had no reason whatsoever getting buffed got buffed this update, which is just crazy, dude. Just straight up craziness. But anyway, I digress. So for Hercules, in general, they increase the basic attack speed he gets per level from 0.8 to 1, right? So he's going to get a little bit more attack speed per level. The strength from pain, right? So they increased the base physical power stack on this item by 50%. 100%. They doubled it. It went from 2 to 4 per stack. Dude, that is huge. That is gigantic for Hercules, man. And Tyre, this is another big one, man. For Tyre, his change in stance, right? This ability now provides 50% of the benefits while in the opposing stance, in addition to current bonuses. So remember, when you were in his defense stance, you got more protections, right? So you got, you know, like X amount of protections depending on what level you are. But then when you switch over to your assault stance, you got attack power. You no longer had any defenses, but you did have those attack power buffs, right? Well, now when I'm in defense mode, I'm going to be able to get what would have been what would have been 50% of what it would look like if I would have been in assault mode, right? So I'm going to get 50% of the assault mode buffs while I'm standing in defense mode, and vice versa. When I'm in assault mode, I'm going to get 50% of the defenses I would have normally gotten if I was in defense stance. Dude, this is craziness. This is going to be crazy for Tyre. Don't be surprised if you see a lot more of those Tyres in Arena right after this update. Another guy that had no business whatsoever getting buffed, Shiva, man. For Shiva, his Emblaze sweep, they increased the movement buff from 20% to 25% in Bliss stance, right? They also increased the protection reduction debuff from 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20 to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 in destruction stance. So that's pretty crazy. And then his Damaru's Temple, right? So they increased the attack speed buff in Bliss stance and the attack speed debuff and destruction stance on this ability from 25% to 30%. Yeah, I don't think that Shiva needed any more buffs, but you know, it is what it is. Morgan Lafay. Now, Morgan Lafay did need a little bit of love, man. And her Sigil Mastery, what they ended up doing is decreasing the cooldown of this from 13 seconds to 12 seconds. Shroud of Fire got decreased from 14 seconds, which is ridiculous, to 13 seconds. So that's pretty good. Now, Soul. For Soul, her Stellar Burst increased the magical power scaling from 35 to 40% per hit. So that's pretty interesting. Supernova. For Supernova, they increased the magical power scaling from 45 to 50% per hit. All right, Janus, right? And Janus, I think, got over nerfed over the years. So they finally gave Janus a little bit of love. So her threshold, they decreased they decreased the cooldown from 15 seconds to 13 seconds. His through space and time, they increased the magical power scaling from 65% to 80% of your magical power, which is pretty big, dude. I've always thought that his ult was a little weak. Now, keep in mind, though, that's less than 800, I don't know how they call it, yards or 800 ticks, or whatever they're measuring, their distance measurement tool is in the game, right? Anything above 800, you get 100% on your magic power scaling. Now, anything below 800 range, you get, now it's going to be 80% of your magic power range. So keep that in mind. So the further off you get, the better, the further snipes you get, the more damage you do. Now on her, his impale, they increase the base damage from 90, 155, 220, 285, and 350 to 105, 170, 235, 300, and 365. They also increased the physical power scaling from 75 to 80. Dude, Onhar did not need any more buffs for Arena, but it is what it is, dude. And his impale just got that much stronger. Now, here's another big one that had no reason getting a buff, I think. I think she's OP as it is, and that's Coryptus. Now, Coryptus Spike Shot, now they increased the splinter base damage from 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 to 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. So yeah, that's pretty significant. Pretty much 10 damage across the board. So that's pretty significant for sure. And then her cap size increased the base damage on this one also by 10 across the board. So that's pretty good. So the combination between those is going to bring a lot more damage to Coryptus. Now, this is the one that just blew my mind. I literally laughed out loud yesterday in today's stream. If you were watching yesterday's stream, because I was like joking around after I saw the Coryptus. I was like, dude, they're buffing Coryptus. What are they going to do? Freaking buff Ishtar next, and bigger than crap, dude. The next thing come out of their mouth, Ishtar is the next god to get buffed. I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Ishtar is ridiculously powerful. Probably one of my most powerful hunters that I can play right now, right? 60, 70,000 undamaged games is not unheard of with this god. And now it's going to be that much easier to get that high of player damage with the buffs they're giving you. Now, it's not significantly like OP buffs, but anything above what she already had is just makes her that much more OP, in my personal opinion, at least for Arena, right? But anyway, so her embedded arrows are her number one, where you can hit her number one and select various different attacks for arrows, 1 to 3. So they increase the duration of her special arrows from 5 seconds to 6 seconds. So you're going to get 1 second longer of the special number one embedded arrows, which is huge, dude. Huge. And they also increase the damage from Storm Shot from 80% of your basic attack damage to 85%. So this is her number 3 modifier on her 1, which is pretty much the only attack I usually use from her. So that's going to be huge. Now, they increase the bonus damage on Strike Shot from 8, 12, 18, 24, and 30 to 14, 18, 22, 26, and 30. Now, her Rolling Thunder, they increase the base damage per hit from 40, 60, 80, 100, and 120 to 50, 75, 100, 125, and 150. So yeah, man, Ishtar got a huge buff. Did she need it? No, she didn't. But you know, hey, as an Ishtar player, I welcome it, but I know that I got lucky and she should not have gotten any of those buffs. The same thing goes with Coryptus and Hercules, but you know, it is what it is. But hey, man, that's our 9.10 update for Smite, right? Going live October 18th. Now, keep in mind, tomorrow I'm going to be doing my Maui video, so make sure you tune into that. And hey, if this is the first time we're seeing our videos, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, right? And don't forget, October 22nd, we're having our GGC Halloween special. It's going to fall on a Saturday at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time in the morning. We're going to be doing private 5v5, sub versus sub fun arena games, right? So come join the fun, man. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm Garza, your OG on GC. See you next time.